Get ready for the Magic Valley Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.
That's right. Welcome in another edition of the Magic Valley Prepcast on IdahoSports.com, your weekly stop down of District 4 athletics in the state of Idaho. Brandon Baney, joined by today party planner Scott Burton. What's up, Scott?
Woo! I tell you what, this week is absolutely insane. A cluster, some would call it. There is so much going on, and I feel like I am planning like 50 events and parties and banquets and whatever, hence the party planner. So like, for example, not just, hosting our regular slew of games and things that we do. Tomorrow we have 4 games right in a row with the 1A D1s coming in. And so I've had to kind of reroute our PE classes because it's going to start while we're still in school. And, kind of get the locker room situation going because we will have PE classes that need in there. So doing all this stuff, planning all these events, and then I'll be on the microphone for those 4 games as well, is just a drop in the bucket. Because Saturday here at Jerome is an absolute zoo. We're going to have a volleyball tournament all day until about 4:30, and then they're going to move into the other gym. But at 4:30, they're going to vacate the main gym. I'm going to go in and set up a basketball game because I have 2 more 1A games coming in. But at the same time that those games are happening, in the cafeteria, we have our Hall of Fame, Jerome High School Hall of Fame dinner going on. And then we're moving that into the auditorium for the Hall of Fame presentation. Meanwhile, I've got 2 basketball games going on simultaneously, as well as a volleyball tournament. And, and I have to coach a little newborn giraffe basketball in the afternoon. So I am the party planner, juggler, Mad Hatter. I'm tired.
We talked about this last week. If you need to get a hold of Scott for anything, anytime between 3:12 and 3:16 a.m., you're good.
That's about right. But then you better make an appointment.
Yeah, right. For sure. So yes, we're going to be talking about girls district basketball in just a second. I got to ask though, when I was a kid, I mean, my school never got to host anything like tournaments because we weren't a great facility, but I've seen in my years of broadcasting now that at Jerome, if you're hosting games during the day, don't the PE classes just get to kind of chill and watch the game, or you got them off doing something else?
Well, you know what? We've got standards and objectives we have to accomplish here. And we just don't take days off from our education. Okay. So they're going to be doing other things. Plus, on top of that, games start at 3, school's out at 3:15. So, yeah, I don't know.
Gotcha.
So we're going to pretend they're doing something very academic in the other part of the building.
Gotcha. Okay. Standards and objectives. That's going to be the title of the podcast. So
nice.
There you go. That'll be good. Okay. So
segue out of that one, my friend.
Yeah. Well, the objective here is to break down what's going on in the girls basketball postseason. And that is exactly what we are going to do. If you are watching this podcast at the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, I'm going to share my computer screen and pull up the brackets. You'll be able to see the brackets on your screen and follow along that way. If you are watching on YouTube, maybe make your video full size. Take up the whole screen. That way you can see the bracket a little more clearly. If you're listening audio only at IdahoSports.com or wherever you download your podcasts, no worry. We've got all of the district bracket tournaments, not just for District 4, but every district across the state of Idaho. Right smack dab top of the homepage at IdahoSports.com. You can follow along that way as well. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Let's see if this works. There it is. The first bracket we're going to break down, Scott, is the tournament that actually got started the earliest. It is the Great Basin Conference, District 4 at Class 4A. This is a 7-team league. There's always that play-in game between 6 and 7, and then from there it's a 6-team double elimination affair. The play-in game was on Monday night, Wood River went to Burley. Burley picked up the win 42-28. So Burley now advances into the double elimination part of the bracket. And the matchups are actually taking place tonight, Scott. We are recording this on Wednesday, February 1st. The first round games are tonight. You've got number 4 Mountain Home hosting number 5 Canyon Ridge. Number 3, Jerome hosting number 6, Burley. Minico and Twin Falls, the top 2 seeds, they get first round byes and they await the winners of tonight's games.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting to see what happens in this conference, because I mean, Minico for the longest time has been, they've been top shelf, and everybody else has really kind of been fighting for second. They have one conference loss, 11-1 in the conference, and that was a road loss over here at Jerome. But, you would have to think that Minico with, Lotta and Bott and Gonzalez, especially Lotta, they've got depth. They can play 8 to 10 girls. They've got to be the favorites to win this conference. But I think the interesting thing is, if nobody knocks them off, who is going to get that second spot to state? Because you look at everybody else, I mean, it really doesn't matter. I mean, Twins the number 2 seed, but they're a team that plays really physical defense. I mean, they've got really some good players. I mean, Hallie Egbert leads the way there. But you look at what they've done against the rest of the conference outside of Minico, right? They're 2-0 versus Jerome, and those were one was a 3-point game. They're 1-1 against Mountain Home, 1-1 against Canyon Ridge. And you go to the number 3 seed in Jerome, they're 1-1 against Minico, 0-2 against Twin Falls, 1-1 against Canyon Ridge, 1-1 against Mountain Home, 2-0 against Burley. And then Mountain Home is exactly the same way. They have all beaten each other. And so outside of everybody not being able to beat Minico, everybody else has just been beating up on each other all season long. And so I think the interesting thing is, where is the number 2 seed going to come from, assuming that Minico does what Minico's been doing all year, and that's winning?
I still lean, and this is just a gut feeling, I still kind of lean. I like Mountain Home a little bit. They've done this before, Coach Keener and Maddie Keener, and yeah, they don't have quite the size they did last year, but man, when you've got a lead guard like that really gives you a leg up. So yeah, you got Mountain Home and Minico potentially, and there's no guarantee Mountain Home even wins this game tonight, right? I mean, they have to have to get past the playing game, but I do think they're set up to, even if it's on the backside of that bracket, win their way through. I don't know, just a gut feeling I have, and I'll gladly come back and eat my words next week if it's not correct.
They definitely have that experience on that side, and they've got a great coach in Brent Keener. But the Mountain Home Tigers go as Maddie Keener goes. And she's one of those players, much like CJ Lotta, that they're the ones that kind of, they're the straw that stirs the drink. And if they're on, and they have been on pretty much all season, then who's going to help them step up, right? So Mountain Home is going to rely heavily on Maddie Keener. And Jerome is, they're playing Burley tonight. They've beaten Burley twice, but that doesn't really mean anything because, 0-0, blah, 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 district, who knows? And it's tough to beat a team 3 times during the regular season. But Jerome's the number 3 seed coming in, and they've got a very balanced scoring because they don't have that standout player. Like, so when you play a team like Mountain Home, you play a team like Minico, even Twin Falls has Egbert as their standout, and Canyon Ridge has, I think, Ava Martin, Teskey is on the guard line, but there are certain players on each team that you have to plan around. Jerome doesn't have that. Jerome has like 6-7 girls that can score 7-8 points a game. Their problem is they struggle at the free throw line, and they drive me crazy when they turn the ball over like they do, right? So they are their own worst enemy there. So if they kind of tightened up there, who knows? It might be them. For Canyon Ridge, don't count them out. They're the ones that have the solid post in 6'2" Ava Martin. So you're going to get point production in the paint from Canyon Ridge. And I mean, you can make an argument for any of these teams. And Burley is better than their record. They have been playing a lot better as of late. I'm not out to discount them as the number 6 seed, but they've got to get a road win tonight at Jerome. So yeah, I don't know. throw a dart at the rest of them.
Yeah, that's for sure. So yes, the battle between all of these teams, 2 bids available to state, is going to be fascinating to watch as that all unfolds. All right, let's go just down to the next classification, Class 3A. This is the SCIC, and we already had the first round games. These took place on Monday night as well. Filer, the 1 seed, Buell is the 3 seed, Kimberly is the 2 seed. So it's Filer 1, Kimberly 2, Buell 3, Gooding 4. Chalk so far. Filer beats Gooding 64-27. Kimberly beats Buell 48-18. And so now you've got this showdown. These games are taking place tonight as well, Scott, at the College of Southern Idaho, CSI. You've got Buell against Gooding in a loser out game at 6. Filer and Kimberly will play in that undefeated semifinal at 7:30. The talk all year has been Kimberly. They've got Mikkel Wright, this great post player. Stanger does a great job inside. They've got all this size, and yet it is Filer who swept Kimberly in the regular season. It's hard to beat the same team over and over and over again. Can Filer do it again?
Well, Filer hasn't lost a conference game in 3 years. So Filer has owned this conference recently. And, this is probably the most relaxed district tournament of the bunch. And here's why, because I think it's Filer and Kimberly and then everybody else. Even though Kimberly did stumble against Buell, it's still Filer and Kimberly. And 2 teams out of here get to go, right?
Yes.
So Filer and Kimberly, it kind of makes it a little easier. But the top 2 teams are going to go, and there are clearly 2 top teams in this conference in Filer and Kimberly. And they've played twice. Filer beat them 54-49 and 52-49. So they have been very close games. And so really, I think what's happening here is who wants to be the conference champion? And Kimberly and Filer have had some battles. In fact, the 2 games that Filer won, they trailed in both of those games by like 9 and 10 points and had to crawl their way back into it to get a win. So, I think with both of those, whoever makes the championship game, I think, they're going to relax and have, hey, we're going to state, but who wants to be the conference champion?
Yeah, you bring up a great point there with the 2 bids to state, and the way you phrase that question, who wants to win the conference title? It reminded me of the old "Who wants to be a millionaire?" the way you said that.
Yep.
Okay, so you're right. Both of those teams look like good bets to advance to state. I've been launching a new feature on the website, IdahoSports.com. It's a daily bracketology for girls basketball based on what's happening at districts. If state started today, who would be in? What would the seedings look like based on the Max Preps rankings? And right now, you've got Filer and Kimberly locked in as the last 2 seeds. Kimberly would actually be the 7 seed. Filer would be the 8 seed. And I think this is a microcosm of aggressive scheduling and also playing up against all of those really talented 4A teams from the Great Basin Conference. That's hurting Kimberly and Filer a little bit here.
Well, it hurts and it helps at the same time. I mean, they are subject to play whoever's in their area because things have become so localized with scheduling that, if you're in the Boise area, why would you even leave? Because you got everything you want there. The 3As here have a huge, I don't want to say an advantage, but they have a huge luxury of having several solid 4A teams that want to put them on their schedule because they're in the area. And so Filer and Kimberly, although may get hammered with their rankings and stuff by doing it, they're getting better as a basketball team because they're playing up. So Filer and Kimberly, yeah, who wants to win the conference title? Filer coming in at 13-9, but 6-0 in conference. And Kimberly 14-7 overall, 3-3 in conference, 2 losses to Filer and 1 to Buell. But, nothing against Buell and Gooding. I mean, they are a distant 3rd and 4th. I mean, Buell is rebuilding under, Coach Montgomery. Used to be Jessica Tews. Now it's Jessica Montgomery. She will do a great job getting that program back. And then Gooding, when they lost Milliken late in the season, I mean, that was their player. And that's just a tough one to recover from. So, again, this conference, it's Filer and Kimberly who wants to win.
Yeah, you're right with Buell. I think they're a year away. I think they're a year early right now, but watch out for Buell next year, I think, especially. So, yeah, that's what's going on at the 3A level. Okay, we keep shrinking the field. We went from 7 teams to 4 teams. We're going to go down to 2 teams now. I've got to actually bring the bracket up here. This is the 2-team affair. Declo, Wendell, best of 3 game series. Declo gets to host the first 2 games. The first game is tomorrow night, Thursday at 7:00. Then they'll play the following Tuesday at 7:00. We really like Declo here. They're kind of to me, the overwhelming favorite.
Oh, overwhelming favorite. I mean, Declo, even though they come in with a losing record of 8-12, they have owned Wendell. The 2 matchups they had were 20 plus points, both of them, and so unless Declo absolutely collapses, I don't see anybody getting past the Hornets here. I mean, they've got, their post player is only 5'5", Bryn Silcock, but she's quick and she finishes well. And even a short stature, she is a tough one to handle in the paint. And, and Declo can complement with some guards like Lily Mallory, who's an excellent ball handler. She makes things happen. So Declo's got some players, Wendell, on the other hand, they're pretty young and they're going to get a lot of these players back. And so it's going to be interesting to see where Wendell does with the growth of these young players, because, I mean, they've got a freshman in Tenley Lemoyne that can just get heated up and just get hot and start making shots. And she's a freshman, So Wendell is poised and set up for maybe next year, the year after that. But they do have some size inside with Maddie Myers, who stands 5'11". It's not like they don't have weapons. They're just young, and Declo owns them still. So I see Declo advancing without a problem.
Yeah, and no matter what happens here, Declo or Wendell, they are pretty much slotted in as that number 8 seed at state in the 2A ranks. And to me, 2A is interesting. You've got this juggernaut Melba at the top, but then from there, I think anybody could be capable of playing Melba for the championship. 2A girls hoops has been pretty wide open this year. Speaking of things that have been wide open this year, let's move to our favorite league, Scott, the 1A D1 Snake River Conference, this big logger jam of teams at the top. You had the play-in games on Monday, 10 versus 7, 9 versus 8. That both went chalk. Valley, the 8 seed, beat Hanson, the 9 seed, 61-27. And then Glens Ferry beat Castleford in the 7-10 matchup, 51-36. Can we stop down on Glens Ferry real quick, Scott? Don't let me forget about this. I want to do like an off-season interview with the McCones from Glens Ferry. Kelly McCone is the athletic director at Glens Ferry. She's coached basketball in the past. Her daughter, Carly McCone, is now the head coach for girls basketball, and Kelly is her assistant. So it's daughter and mom coaching together. And then Carly, just in the last 2-3 weeks, delivered a child into the world. So it's been a busy time for the McCones at Glens Ferry. It's been a pretty
Glens Ferry's population grew by like 20% on that one.
Yes.
I'm just teasing Glens Ferry. I'm just making a joke, but that would be a great story. With those 2 there, you just don't hear about that. And I think it's awesome. And so, yeah, absolutely. We need to get those guys on here and kind of find out what's going on.
Yes, for sure. So that's with Glens Ferry. They and Valley both moved into then the double elimination portion of the bracket. And last night, Scott, is when we had this opening night of activities. Lost my page there for a second. Let me pull that back up. Okay, so last night in the opening round, Oakley, the 1 seed, beats Valley 51-17. Raft River, the 2 seed, beats Glens Ferry 54-27. Murtaugh, the 3 seed, beats Shoshone 54-40. And then you have this 4-5 matchup. Cary and Lighthouse Christian. The Panthers escape 37-35 with the win. That game, Scott, was Lighthouse Christian's to lose. The Lions led 20-14 at halftime. They led by 8 going into the fourth quarter. Or it might have been even larger than that. Cary had to outscore Lighthouse in the fourth quarter 13-5 just to get out of there with the 2-point win. So this was a huge comeback for Cary. And style points don't matter in the postseason, right? All that matters is you get the W.
Yeah, that's all that matters. And, those 4 or 5 games are really fun matchups because, they're generally pretty even. And Lighthouse is just kicking themselves right now because they let one get away. And you can stomach sometimes letting one get away in the regular season, but when it comes tournament time, that's when you can't mess around anymore. And those sting a little bit more. Now, this particular conference is, there's 2 spots available. We've talked about this over the course of the week or weeks, and there are, really some good teams here. I think you're looking at, Oakley is obviously the favorite. They're the ones that are cruising in as the number 1 seed. They've got weapons. They're just good. Raft River, the number 2 seed. And I think that's where it should. I think the first 3 seeds, it's theirs to fight for those 2 spots. Now, if somebody wants to step up and play spoiler, like a Carey or somebody else, then go for it. But I think right now, Oakley, Raft River, and Murtaugh are the top 3 in that conference, and they are going to battle it out for the 2 spots to state. And it's too bad, too, because, you look around the state, the Boise Valley isn't as strong. And we talked about this before. There's going to be a team left home here that could really do some damage at state. And it's unfortunate. But the way I'm seeing it, Oakley and Raft River, they are completely different styles. And we talk about Oakley and Raft River in just about everything that we do. And in basketball, they could not be any more different in the girls' basketball way, because Oakley, Matt Payton has them very disciplined, and, they're very just tough man defense. And, my conversations with the coaches this year, it kept coming up. Oakley plays tough man, and, they've got a great post and Fallon Bedke. They've got guards that can really light it up, and Hope Payton, Addie Mitten, and Kylan Jones. They're all seniors, so they've all been there, done that. And that's why I think Oakley is the not going to say overwhelming favorite, but they are the favorite to win this. Now, Raft River, on the other hand, Coach Dieters has got him out to a 19-2 record, and they did beat Oakley early in the season. But we talked about how those games matter and which ones matter and stuff like that. But they are the polar opposite. They're athletic. They want to run. They want to press. They want to quicken up the game. They've got a kid, Jones, who's a 3-point shooter. They've got Schumann in the post, who was the player, the conference player of the year last year. So Raft River's got, some weapons as well. I think if they have a problem is maybe they would get going too fast, because they like to really quicken up the pace. And sometimes you get going too fast, and then mistakes happen and whatever. But I still think they are a legit number 2. And then you got Murtaugh. And Murtaugh and Todd Jensen, who's been around forever as well, coming in with a 16-5 record. They're probably the dark horse that I think could maybe get in and upset Oakley and Raft River. And, they lost to both Raft River and Oakley in overtime. That's how close these 3 teams are. And they're a team that runs zone defense, so it's a different style than what these other 2 teams are playing. Briley Widmeyer in the post, Ashley Stanger in the post. They're solid for Murtaugh. And the guard line, Addie Stanger, Jensen in the post. The thing about Murtaugh that really makes them a tough matchup is they've got length. They sit in this zone, and if you've got people think of you play a zone defense to cover up some size. Like, I don't have enough size to battle in the paint or whatever the case is. But sometimes you get a team with length, and they sit in a zone and they just take up so much space that it makes it really tough to score on them. Well, that's Murtaugh. And Murtaugh can create a lot of turnovers out of their zone as well. And so I really think, and no offense to Carey or Lighthouse or anybody else, but I really think it's those 3 teams that are going to battle for those 2 spots. Now, hey, don't turn your back on Carey. We'll see what happens with Oakley, right? They found a way to win against Lighthouse. And Lighthouse, let's see how they respond. Lighthouse has their players with Wolverton and Rogers, So, I mean, there's a lot going on here. With 10 teams, we could talk about all of them, including Shoshone, who can upset anybody. And we talked a lot about Tim Chapman last week. I mean, Shoshone's a team that's going to sit in a zone. They played it for 100 years, and Carly Chapman's a great shooter, and Tim and his experience always has his teams playing well at tournament time. So there's my quick take on that conference right now.
Yeah, some of the highlights from last night: Oakley in the win, Bentley Cranny 24 points, Fallon Bedke inside had 11. Raft River in their win, Logan Jones leads the way with 17 points. And Murtaugh's win over Shoshone, a 14-point win. Briley Widmeyer, 19 points. Courtney Jensen had 14. Carly Chapman led all scorers with 21 points for Shoshone in that loss, by the way. And the same thing happened in the Cary game, where the leading scorer for the whole contest was Jordan Wolverton of Lighthouse. She had 19 points. Rogers had 9. Cary a little more spread out. Jane Park, Shaylee Smith each had 12. So this is a league that is not short on star power. It's not short on good quality teams. And you are going to be in the front row seat for the action tomorrow night. These are all at Jerome. Valley against Lighthouse in the loser out game. Glens Ferry and Shoshone in the second loser out game. And then the semis, Oakley and Cary at 6. Murtaugh and Raft River at 7:30. That Murtaugh-Raft River game in particular, I'm really excited to see. You'll recall that Raft River did win the regular season matchup with Murtaugh, but it came in overtime. It came on a basically game-winning 3 from Libby Bowden with less than 20 seconds to play, and it came at the other end where Murtaugh thought they got a good look at the basket and thought a foul probably should have been called, and it didn't, and that's how they ended up falling. So there's a lot of intrigue surrounding that second semifinal. Should be a lot of fun to watch. So
yeah, it really should. I mean, Oakley and Cary playing in that first one. Oakley won in the regular season 40-27. So again, Oakley clear favorite, I think. But you're right. That second game between Raft River and Murtaugh, especially with that wound being so recent, how are they going to respond? Because if you're Murtaugh, man, that's locker room stuff right there. We let one get away. We can be that, and then you just come out with guns ablazing. And Raft River, on the other hand, see how they respond. I don't know. I'm really interested in that second game as well.
Yeah, it's going to be a really fun one. Okay, and we'll wrap up here with the 1A D2 Sawtooth Conference 4-team affair. 1 bid to state. Dietrich, the 1 seed. Richfield, the 2. Those are they're kind of way ahead of the 3 and the 4. No knock on Hagerman or Camas County,
right.
But those are teams that are just struggling with numbers, right? Just trying to get a starting 5 and a bench. These games were last night as well. Opening round, Dietrich beats Camas 64-17. Richfield beats Hagerman 35-8. And so now the question is, this has been Richfield's league the last couple of years with Buck Hendren, the head coach, and his daughter Casey, who kind of leads the offense. We know what a good volleyball team Richfield had this past year, and yet it's Dietrich who's had the success this year in the regular season, and Dietrich is the team that comes in with that number 1 overall seed.
Yeah, this is another battle, and you're right. This is Dietrich and Richfield. This is the Tobacco Roads thing that we keep talking about every time we bring these guys up, because we're right down the road from each other, like Carolina and Duke. But it is a 2-team race, and not to take anything away from Camas, who has a great player in Ashmead and Hagerman and DeVries. I mean, they're like you said, they're just not there yet, right? So Dietrich and Richfield, again, we talked about how Oakley and Raft River play opposite styles. Same thing here. Dietrich with Rick and Charlie Estelle running the show there, coming in 18-3, 6-0 in conference. Haven't lost a conference game yet this year. And their losses are to Oakley, Murtaugh, and Raft River. The 3 teams we just got done talking about, those are the only 3 teams to beat Dietrich this year. So this is a team that likes to play fast. They want to get shots up. And, Haley Estelle is the playmaker. She's the one that kind of gets it going. Abby Hendricks and Sage Hubert, they contribute as well on that Dietrich team. But this is also a pretty deep Dietrich team that sometimes can play 10 players. And if you want to play a fast style, like Dietrich does, you've got to have bodies to be able to do it, or you're just going to run your horses into the ground. And, and then Richfield, on the other hand, they are more deliberate in their approach and very defense oriented. And we've talked about the defense of Richfield in the past, and that's just what they do. They like to get the ball inside to Shelby Jones and Maddie Long and let Casey Hendren attack from the outside, but they're a little bit more methodical, and they play about 7 or 8 girls. So you look at these two styles, which one is going to win out? Well, they know each other so well. Dietrich has won both contests in the regular season. The first one 38-20, and the second one was a offensive juggernaut, 25-23. Offense optional, but they know each other so well that this might come down to like one of the role players stepping up and somebody that you didn't expect to get hot and do something. But Dietrich and Richfield, man, they battle like Oakley and Raft River do. And here's another one battling for that one spot to state.
Yeah, you're right. The way that Richfield likes to play, it is a very deliberate style. They're gonna body you up on defense. They're gonna make you earn it. Like just getting across half court sometimes is a struggle against this Richfield team. I still remember 2 years ago, Scott, my first state tournament with IdahoSports.com. It was the 1A D2 girls tournament, and there was actually 3 teams from District 4 that made it. Cary and Camas County and Richfield won a play. This is back when the conference was bigger. Richfield won a play-in game against Garden Valley to get to state, and all the Garden Valley fans were belly aching. Richfield, they want to play football on the basketball court. It's just physical and fouls, and I'm like, that's good defense. That's like you got to be able to overcome that. Like you can't complain about that. That's a winning strategy. That's
exactly right. That's what makes some of these boy teams in our conference so good. Minico is the first one that comes to mind. With Brady Trinkle just having that physical style of defense makes them win. On the other side, on the girls' side, in the 4As, Twin is that team. They can get physical with you. So there's something about a physical team that just doesn't wear on you physically. It wears on you mentally, because after a while, you're just getting tired of getting beat down. And then you start to kind of make mistakes. And that's what they hope you do, And yeah, hats off to Richfield. I love teams that can play that style.
Definitely.
The thing about that style, Brandon, is that style there travels. Yes. I mean, we talk about this off and on with different styles of basketball and how they succeed and whatnot. A team that is tough and physical and plays defense and rebounds, they can do that on any court. It doesn't matter what the surroundings are. But when you are one of those teams that just relies on outside shooting all the time, I mean, you're playing in different gyms, different atmospheres, the depth perception behind the backboard, it all changes, And so those teams, although may have great shooters and great seasons, at some point it catches up to them, And I've been broadcasting state tournaments for a while, and I'll tell you, the more likely than not, the teams that win state titles are the teams that, number one, can play defense and rebound, and number two, can score in the paint. Those are the things that carry you. We've seen the live and die by the 3-point arc catch up to them in the state tournament somehow. But that's why I like what Richfield does. Not saying they're going to beat Dietrich, but I'm just saying I like their style.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of it as well. So we will see. They will play in the undefeated semifinal game at Gooding High School tomorrow night, 8:00. Camas County and Hagerman will meet in a loser-out contest prior to that at 6:30. And this is a good way to transition now into a brief conversation about boys basketball. You talked about Minico and the way they are just physical and body you up. We've been at Minico the last couple of times they've been at home on IdahoSports.com for Magic Valley game night. We were there last week when they lost to Burley. We were there last night as they took on Pocatello in a non-conference game. And I'll tell you what, with about a minute to go in the third quarter, Minico had it within single digits against a Pocatello team that is, only lost once this year and is generally considered one of the 2 best teams in the state in 4A basketball. So I was pretty impressed with Minico's ability to bounce back after a disappointing loss to Burley. Talking to Brady Trinkle, the head coach, before the game last night, he said, our problem is we don't seem to play well at home. He said, we're 9-3 on the road. We're 1-3 at home. And he said, I don't know if that's a good strategy or not, considering, we're at the top of the division right now and we would have home games for districts. I think Minico is a team that's still trying to figure out offensively, how do they get the ball rolling a little bit. And talking to Brady last night, he also told me, of course, we want to win this game against Pocatello, but the really important game is Thursday night when Jerome comes to town. And that will be another game we will have for you on IdahoSports.com, Magic Valley game night, Jerome at Minico. Scott, this game is huge as everybody is trying to keep pace with Twin at the top of the league standings.
Well, and you know what? This conference, it's like nobody wants to win it because, you got Minico losing to Burley, 3-win Burley at home in one of the biggest rivalry games that you'll find in the state of Idaho when Burley and Minico tangle. And you lose on your home floor. I mean, and then Jerome gives one away against Twin and then gives another one away last night against Mountain Home. So they're coming off of 2 home losses in the conference. And meanwhile, Twin is just saying, all right, everybody, you just go ahead and do what you're doing because that's just separating us from everybody else. And right now, Twin sitting atop the conference with a 7-3 record and then a log jam after that. So there was a point where if anybody wanted to step up and take control of the conference, they could have. Minico went into just a little bit of a slump, but that surrounded when Brevin got hurt as well, and then Jerome just, I don't know what their issue is. So they better figure it out tomorrow night when they go to Minico, so that's a big game.
That is a humongous game, and we're glad to bring it to you on IdahoSports.com. And speaking of, we are also planning on broadcasting some district tournament action on the girls' side, Scott, as we talked about that 1A D1 girls district tournament, the 3rd and 4th place game and the championship game. I'm going to pull up the bracket again real quick just so everyone can know what we're going to be broadcasting from that 1A D1 tournament. So if you look at the bracket here, you will see on the 7th, next Tuesday, February 7th, there's going to be a doubleheader at CSI, the College of Southern Idaho. It'll be basically the 3rd and 4th place game at 6, followed by the district championship at 7:30. We will have both of those games for you on IdahoSports.com. And then we will also be broadcasting the 2nd and 3rd place game 2 nights later at your place at Jerome High. We're going to do that battle for the second bid to state between the 2nd and 3rd place team. That'll be Thursday, February 9th at 7 p.m. So we're going to bring you 3 games from the 1A D1 district tournament at CSI and Jerome. And we're pretty excited to be able to do that.
And the funny thing is you look at those 2 games, and again, I'm a philosophy type of, kind of pressure guy. I mean, I like the intricacies that go on, behind the games, right? Well, you're looking at that first game, that winner to state game, will decide the conference champion. Okay. Very exciting. But the loser of that game still has a shot to go to state. So it's not like, okay, we're not done yet. They get another chance. But that 2nd and 3rd place game, that one really is tense. That is the pressure-packed game right there because there is no second chance, right? The winner's going to go to state. The loser's done. I mean, there is a fine line between winning and losing in that 2nd and 3rd place game. That's why that game there I love to watch, love to call, love to be at, just because of what's at stake. If you understand what I'm saying, right?
Yes. The emotionally, how do you turn around and bounce back from that? And I will tell you, last year, I'm gonna pull up last year's bracket just to show everybody, what can happen in this type of scenario. Last year, here's a familiar story. Oakley, Raft River, Murtaugh were your top 3 teams. Murtaugh was the number 1 seed last year. They lose to Oakley in that championship 48-42. They then had to turn around and play they lost to Raft River in the championship 48-42. They then had to turn around and play Oakley for that second spot to state and couldn't get it done. Oakley won 35-32. So Murtaugh went from number 1 seed to missing out on state just like that in the blink of an eye. 2 very close competitive games last year that did not go the Red Devils' way. So,
yep.
It's going to be good.
Yeah. I'm really, really looking forward to being a part of this 1A D1 conference. The only games I will not be at will be this Saturday on the 4th, because of our Hall of Fame banquet. Hence the party planner. That's what's going to pull me away. But otherwise, I'm courtside. I'm on the mic. I'm playing music. I'm doing the PA and just having a blast with these guys. And I tell you what, everybody in this conference that I've talked to, all the coaches, the ADs, I mean, they are just good people. I mean, I just enjoy the heck out of everybody that's in that conference, especially just because I see them at all the AD meetings and they're just down to earth. And well, a couple of them are AD and coaches, head coaches at the same time, but they're so, appreciative of being able to come over here. And their players are very, very polite and thankful. And, it's just good people, and I talk about Americana all the time, don't I? Well, this is that conference, right? And so, yeah, I'm excited to see them play.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Just stay tuned to the game streams tab on the homepage at IdahoSports.com. We're going to be doing district championship games across the state. So we're going to have a lot of postseason action for you on tap ahead of state. So, all right. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, to the Magic Valley Prepcast. Enjoy the competition wherever you're at this week/weekend. Hopefully your favorite team advances to state. And we'll be back here next week to break it all down again. For Scott Burton, I'm Brandon Baney, and we'll see you next time on IdahoSports.com.